Hey, this is Ava Unit 4i for CollectionDX.com. In this review, I will be highlighting the transformation, special features, and other notables of the Voyager-class Decepticon Demolishor set from the 2009 feature film Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. As was the case with Paramount Pictures and DreamWorks and Industrial Light and Magic with the movie, Hasbro was unable to recreate the Constructicons as triple changers. They couldn't have a vehicle mode, a robot mode, and then be part of Devastator. They just couldn't do it. It's far too complex. So instead they created separate sets of the Constructicons with a vehicle and robot mode, and then they made that 6-part Devastator set which has just the vehicle and combo modes. There's no robot mode in any of those. There's a smaller candy toy sized Devastator which forms basic versions of the robot modes for all 7 of them, but just so as you know, this set is not compatible with Devastator. It's not going to happen, so don't even ask. Demolisher here chose the form of the Terex O&K RH400 heavy excavator, which is the largest excavator currently being manufactured in the world. It's not the largest ever, but it's the largest one currently being manufactured in it, like 1,000 tons or something like that. I mean, this thing is frickin' huge. And you can see by the little, the stairways that runs along both sides. And here's the door on the side of the control cabin right here. I mean, this thing is frackin' huge. The biggest difference, though, lies with the kibble in back. With the R&H 400 series, these panels, the side panels would extend all the way back and then just close off. The giveaway is with Demolisher here has kind of a Y-shaped chassis from above, whereas the RH400 would actually be kind of a blocky U shape. So that's the biggest giveaway. So you have a ton of robot kibble in back here, and then it's very open at the bottom. Hey, Demolisher, there's his head. So, but if you don't know better, this is the thing about it though. If you didn't know better, it actually looks like part of the vehicle. Looks like, part of the mining vehicle. It looks like a power shovel with, aside from the fact that, it has giant hydraulic pistons and stuff on the lift arm. A power shovel would have, a crane and then have a bunch of cables and stuff hanging off the back. And even though this is a hydraulic excavator, which is a whole other animal, this kind of looks like, where you might find the places where the cables kind of wind up and are stored back here, or it looks like something else would link onto the back, like a power generator, or something like that would link on the back. So even though the R&H 400 doesn't look like this, for the toy, it doesn't look that misplaced. Yeah, it's kind of whatever. But for a toy excavator, it doesn't look bad. Now on to the posability in vehicle mode. Yes, a vehicle mode with posability. The arm does not have any of the hydraulic pistons or anything like that in here, although it does have the feed lines for it, which are just painted on here, molded and painted on, so whatever. The arm can rotate at the elbow, and it can rotate at the wrist. These are the actual terms, by the way. And it can also pivot at the shoulder. Now, the shoulder is ratcheting. It ratchets, every few degrees, but the wrist and the elbow do not have ratcheting systems in them. So now the thing about the R&H 400 is that by the way, it can only dig down about 7 feet, which this guy can reach down about 7 feet, something like that. It'll reach down that far. It would lift up, and then a dump truck would come under there. But the thing is, with the bucket, you can see the joint for it here, and you can kind of see some other details on here. The problem is, with Demolisher, with the toy version of Demolisher, this joint, the bucket's actually only composed of like 2 pieces, one for each side, because it forms the hands in robot mode. Sort of, the bucket would actually, it would scoop up and then it would split in half, so that as opposed to turning this upside down and dumping it out like that, it would stay like this. It would pivot here, then the front half would open up, and it would just dump down like that. That way they didn't have to turn it, upside down each time. Well, unfortunately, Demolisher doesn't have a joint there, so you can see it's just clean line across here. So that's the extent of the motion for the arm and the bucket. Now here's the cool thing. The caterpillar treads actually are made of rubber. Like, how often do we get transformers, like in the last, 25 or 28 years by now, something like that, how often do we get rubber tractor treads on, caterpillar treads? That's pretty awesome. Here's the not so awesome part. The tractor treads do not move. How ironic is that? And I'll show you one in a few minutes when I get them into robot mode, why it is that those cannot move. Okay, here we go with the transformation. On top of each tractor tread is a little hole that fits into a little peg. Now, why it is they did this, I'm not entirely sure. I think it kind of increases the contour of the belt in vehicle mode, I guess. It's not required that you put it in there, but just be aware that it is there. So, Now the shoulders gets a little complicated. One thing you have to make certain of is that this surface here is below this line here. It can't be above it like this. You actually have to have it below, or else it doesn't work. The way they put it in the instructions is all kind of drawn out, but basically the gist of it is, and this has two joints here, this has two joints here. They both act the same way, but you use them in different fashions. So, actually it was a little distracting, so I'll just do that over again. And it is a subtle change, but an important one nonetheless. Oh yeah, and then you keep these where they are, and then you flip the cab section around about 180. About nothing, it is 180. As soon as you take the two front halves of the cabin apart, things are going to start twisting around in here, so you just have to kind of learn where things are, where they go, and blah, 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 blah. Kind of like that. That like that. Okay. This panel that I'm moving right here, this one, if you squeeze it down too hard, there's actually no place for your finger to grab onto, so it can be a little tricky to pull it back out when you're switching back to vehicle mode. And it's just the whole, and you can kind of choose which side flips around, which side doesn't, so. Let's see, how do I want to do this? Okay, let's just do it like that. The instructions get you where you need to go. Just do it like this. And then you get this up to here. Put that into that like that. Now here is why, this is why the rubber pads, or why the tractor treads, why they can't rotate. Check this out. This is actually kind of cool. This I'm willing to excuse for the reason why the wheels don't look the way they do in the movie. I mean, look at that. How damn clever is that? Want me to do it again? I'll do it again. Just give me a second here. Let's see. The only thing I worry about in squeezing these in is that the clips on the inside of the tractor motor assemblies, whatever these are called, the clips on the inside eventually will snap. So take your time, be patient when you wiggle those things around. that. And these panels, you just flip them down, you kind of guess, you know, they're set them to whatever angle you want. And there you get the Voyager-class Demolisher, and let's see. Oh, okay, that's what it is. And in robot mode. So this is Demolisher in robot mode. Very unusual robot form. The last time we had a transformer as a unicycle where he had no legs whatsoever was the Viacon General Thrust from Beast Machines Transformers in, what was it, 99, 2001, something like that. The toy version of Thrust had legs that you could, you know, pop it open, and I never got one because I didn't like him, but blah, 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 blah. You know, I don't have anything from Beast Machines because I never watched it. I thought that was a drag. After the first 2 episodes, I got real bored with it, but whatever. So Demolisher's robot mode is very, very, very Bayformers type style. It's just, and really, Demolisher is my first review for Revenge of the Fallen as far as new characters. Like, I've already done the later class Optimus Prime. So, like, Demolisher, the RC triplets, Sideswipe, there are many, many characters who would not have conventional legs, or they would always end in wheels. And that'll become a running theme through many of these toys. Obviously, they don't have the gyroscopic stabilizers and the balancing capabilities, so I'm just going to say right here now, posing is always going to be an issue with these toys. Some provide, you know, little foot pads, some you have to use the arms, and some come with little accessory stands that you just hook onto them, even though those stands might not appear in the movie itself. With Demolisher, you just have to learn to balance him on his arms, and that's it. However, with the wheels, you do have a little flexibility as far as what you could do just with the suspension joints. You can actually twist these back and forth, so in a way, you know, you can make him taller or shorter in some fashion. Not by much, but, you know, enough. The other thing you can do, and this is recreated in the movie, I don't know how well this is going to work here, the joints in the shoulders are tied into the central body or whatever, and it's actually quite tight in there. I mean, you really have to fight it. Listen to this. It's a very, very tight ratcheting right there. So, although, you know, and the way things are manufactured, you know, some toys will, you know, it'll be tighter on this side than it is on the other, vice versa. Mine, it's tight on this side, it's not on this side. But what you can do is, you know, you can do this however you like. You can see the wheels will actually do a complete, you know, 360. Like, you know, this was the bottom, now it's above. The only way, yeah, so I just changed my mind. But, you know, the shoulders can turn independently of the body. Just, you know, make sure you hold on to the thing. By the way, the light piping in his eyes, it actually does work. It's really good light piping because, you know, they're not stupid enough to put the lighting back here. They actually put it on the top of his head. So, you know, kudos to Hasbro for actually putting the light piping window in a place where the light can actually get to it. Okay? The detailing in his shoulders is just Voyager-class quality, I don't know. It's Voyager-class quality. I'm not going to say crap because it doesn't look like crap. It just looks like machinery. It kind of sort of looks like the engine of the RH400, but, you know, that's about it. So, both wheels turn on their own axis, and again, it's not the rubber tread that's turning. It's this axis right here in the center. The reason the tractor treads can't turn in vehicle mode is because, you know, they're tied in here and they're tied in here. So while, you know, we lost the the field. I mean, these things look like monster truck tires. I mean, there's no hollowness in the movie version. But the way this thing transforms and the fact that it even rotates, I'm kind of sort of willing to forgive Hasbro for not giving us a full tire or not allowing the tractor treads to turn in vehicle mode. It would have been nice if they turned in vehicle mode. It would have been nice if it had been a full-sized wheel, but I can understand why it is they did it. And really, for $23, you couldn't really expect much more than that. So the only disadvantage to them, perhaps, is you can see the wheels sag downwards in robot mode with the weight, and sometimes it won't balance right. You kind of have to use the spokes to kind of give it a foot, and then just cautiously balance it on the arms like that. With that being said, here's where the difficulty comes to play, and I do mean difficulty. Because of the panels up here, the shoulders can't turn any higher than that. So shoulders turn in and out like that, and you can twist them forward and back. Okay, whatever. Here's where things go south real fast, and I mean real fast. You have a difficult time enough as it is standing them up like that. The elbows can turn in and out. Mecha Life feature, I'll get to that in a moment. The elbows can turn in and out easily enough, but the bad news is you can't turn them side to side. So he's always going to have this kind of crab-like movement to his arms, just always. So they can only turn inwards or outwards, and that's it. The same thing with, well, same thing really with his hands. It's just half the bucket. That's all that it is. It's half the bucket. I mean, this is one piece, and then the little claws on the end are a second piece that has a rod going through it, and that's it. So posing this guy is very limited, very, very limited. I mean, he could do these swiping motions like a crab or a lobster, but he can't twist. You can't twist the elbows, and you can't make them tilt up and down. That right there is what I call epic fail. Is you've got this nice little divide section right here, but they don't take advantage of it by letting it turn. The alternative would have been to somehow find a way of making the shoulder twist up here. That way you could have kept the gearing for the Mecha Life feature intact, and you wouldn't have had to worry about that. The other epic fail is that because the bucket is only composed of two parts, you don't get any fingers out of it. The closest you get to fingers are the claws that are a part of the bucket, and that's it. So the arms are really the biggest fail point for me on this entire toy. They just, you desperately, you want him to reach up and plow through that overpass like he does in Revenge of the Fallen. You want him to be able to, reach over his head and, swipe at Prime while he's shooting at his face. You want to be able to do all those poses, but you can't do it. The closest you might be able to get in posing the elbows forward is to twist the transformation joint forward like this. Now, immediately you notice it's just rubbing up against all kinds of things. This here, rubs up against the feet, and you get a little bit of motion. He's kissing the back of his hand there, whatever. But that's it. You can't really pose with it. Now, you could do the reverse. Actually, the concept art that's floating around the internet, we haven't actually seen any final designs for Demolisher online, but the concept art shows him with his elbows kind of pointed forward like this. So you could do it this way if you wanted to, but again, you don't have any operating claws. Like, you didn't even have to grab anything. Just put some extra joints in there or something. That would have been great. So you spend a lot of your time trying to find a way to pose this guy without having him tip over. Having him posed with one hand can take a bit of time and is a bit of a chore. Easy going like that. It would have been nice if that locked in place as opposed to flipping all the way out. It doesn't need to flip out. It doesn't even flip all the way up. It's just supposed to sit down diagonally like this. By the way, these panels don't look anything like that in the movie, so The Mech Alive feature requires no special effort on your part to operate. Very, very simple. You already seen it twice. I've already highlighted it. On the back, you can see, they just kind of, this is another thing I didn't like, is just the detailing on the back of the arm is kind of meh, whatever. Believe it or not, I'm getting a little sidetracked here. Believe it or not, the mass, the majority of the mass from the cab and things like that in robot mode in the movie actually ends up on the back of his arms. Not on the top or on the front, but actually on the back. So he's got these huge honking, whatever they are, in back. That's probably where the missile silos for Demolisher in the video game version of Revenge of the Fallen, that's probably where they sit, but yeah, anyways. The Mecha Life feature, there's just a simple pair of gears sitting on the inside here, and all that happens is when you twist the elbow, this cylindrical thing just rotates in and out. And that's it. Now, Demolisher is actually one of the very few transforming toys in the Revenge of the Fallen line with a Mecha Life feature that's operable both in robot mode and in vehicle mode. There's one kind of big continuity issue that needs to be addressed with this toy, and that is that Demolisher is not red in the movie. He's actually mostly white with red and gray stripes. Details, blah 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 blah. Scavenger, who forms the center torso of Devastator, is red and white. Although we don't see him in robot mode, presumably he changes into the same robot that Demolisher does. It may be because of trademark reasons that Scavenger's colors were used. This may have been Scavenger. Like, when they were developing the toy, this may have been called Scavenger, and a last-minute change switched him to Demolisher simply because Demolisher we see in robot mode a lot more than we did Scavenger. So it may be for trademark reasons or last-minute change or I don't know what, and I'm not going to speculate without seeing, some sort of evidence in front of me first. So to call this toy Demolisher might not be entirely accurate, even though it looks like Demolisher, generally speaking. The biggest thing you're going to hear, complaints-wise, from me and from a lot of people online, is the posability in the arms. The swivel joints in the shoulders, the transforming swivel joints, on mine, they pop. They shift around real easily. So when you're trying to get that very tight ratcheting shoulder joint to move around, when you're trying to extend the arm or do something with it, you're having to fight with those transformation joints. They should be tighter. They were factory fresh, but they very quickly wore out. That's not to say that they don't, snap every 45 degrees or whatever. It's just they wore out real quickly, and you end up fighting them a lot. So even posing the shoulders becomes a chore. It's understandable, though, that you'd have to hold on to the center torso in order to twist the shoulder, in order to prevent the wheel suspension system, that's what I call it, from turning. That's understandable. But missing some articulating hands and definitely being able to turn those elbows around so that they face the right direction, wow, it just drags the design down so quickly and so badly. Not even going to complain about how inaccurate the shoulders look. I mean, their shoulders, it's a Voyager-class toy, there's not much you can do about that. Substituting the hydraulic pistons for the simplified Mecha Live gimmick, yeah, I suppose I can understand that, because Mecha Live would be a lot easier to execute. Probably be cheaper, too, than producing, 6 hydraulic pistons and the chance of them popping out or wearing out or breaking easily or anything like that. The Mecha Live feature is self-contained. You don't have to worry about it, ever. So that's probably why we didn't get the pistons. I miss the pistons, but I can understand why they did it, and really the toy doesn't suffer because the Mecha Live feature is there. Despite the inconsistencies with the movie characters, this is still a good, functional little toy. I already pointed out the transforming shoulder joints are a little tricky to operate. It's a little difficult to balance him for obvious reasons, but overall, it's still not a bad toy. I mean, the only reason that I, as a collector and trans fan, would bash it is because he doesn't look quite as detailed or as accurate as he does on screen. He certainly doesn't have the same presence as he does on screen, which was absolute ponage. This Demolisher toy I treat pretty much the same way as I do with the Voyager-class Blackout from the 2007 lineup. It needed to be a leader-class toy, and it was demoted to Voyager-class, and that's where the biggest faults are. It would have been far more accurate to be a larger toy and then include smaller figures to go along with it. Like, for Demolisher here, I would, well, Scrapper, Demolisher here, for example, the Voyager-class Autobot Stratosphere figure has a miniaturized Optimus Prime which can transform and fits inside the cargo bay. If they could have taken that same figure, I assume they're to the same scale, if they could have taken that figure and provided one with the Demolisher set, you know, that would have been something. I would have had more praise. The posing on this set is what drags it down the most, but it's still not a bad toy. Things fit where they're supposed to. The materials don't break. It's got a good little gimmick in the upper arms. The light piping works, hallelujah. And it looks like Demolisher does in the movie. It doesn't have his presence, he's not Ponage, but it still, you know, looks like Demolisher, so I can't bash that. It's a Voyager-class toy is what it is, and it delivers a Voyager-class toy. The arms, okay, that's an issue.